Hello everyone. I have some Scout gameplay today, because I'm talking about some Scout related stuff. Don't expect, peak performance. My Scout's not great. And don't even expect me to be practicing what I'm about to preach either. But anyway, I want to talk about the dynamics between Scouts and soldiers, and specifically how Scouts counter soldiers. This is mostly a Pocket Scout thing, and it's mostly focused on the dynamics between playing as a Scout to deny soldier bombs specifically. Of course, Scout is a good class against soldiers just in a 1v1 sense, just by playing height and playing, your speed to dodge rockets and things like that. But I want to talk specifically about the dynamics of countering bombs in particular. Because as a Pocket Scout especially, denying soldier bombs is one of your primary jobs, and you of course are there to protect your medic and play around your medic, and the primary threat that your medic is going to be facing is soldier bombs. So this is something that happens on mid-fights, this is something that happens in transitions when you're trying to take space, and just in general. And there's many different things at play towards, as a Scout being able to properly counter soldiers. So first things first is knowledge is really important. Knowing where their soldiers are and where their soldiers are not is extremely useful information, because when you know where... Oh, my medic is dropping here. That could be my fault. I don't know. When you know where the soldiers are, you obviously can position yourself such that their bombs are not effective. And you could also know, if, for example, you're trying to push a point and there is only one soldier alive on the other team, which you would know if one of their soldiers is dead, and you see that soldier, as in you either see the soldier themselves or you see where their rockets are coming from, then you know exactly where that bomb can come from. And, if you know they're not in a position to realistically bomb, then you can just take as much space as you want, as quickly as you want, enemy stickies permitting. So that's quite important for not only how you position yourself, but for knowing the amount of aggression that you can take. Just useful to know. And a huge part of, especially like mid-fights as a Scout, is just spotting soldiers. This is particularly useful on a mid like Sunshine, where if you're trying to play like a left-sided mid, for instance, you are going to have to... You're going to have to rotate in front of the other team's cafe, and a soldier could have rolled out cafe and been hiding cafe that whole time without revealing themselves. So if you can spot two soldiers, then you know that there isn't one in cafe. But if you don't, then that's, maybe a present threat and something you have to really worry about once you actually get there and your back is turned to it. So just something to keep in mind. Spotting and just having information is really important when it comes to countering those bombs. The other big thing, of course, is high ground. You really want to be playing high ground whenever you can, as any class, honestly. It's less apparent on a class like Demo, perhaps, because Demo is the one class that is, arguably as effective at shooting high ground as he is at low ground or even ground. But basically every other class is way safer on high ground because it's harder to shoot them, and also more effective on high ground because they can either shoot easy splash rockets at the floor below you, or just get reliable chip shots with the scattergun or anything like that. So playing high ground is really important for a multitude of reasons, not just because you're safer, not just because you can spot more things and generally have more vision, although both of those are true, but also you are physically closer to soldiers that are bombing. And when you're closer to your target, that means that you deal more damage to them. And the more damage you deal, the more knockback you deal. And again, remember that the primary tool of dealing with soldier bombs is not to literally kill them by the time they hit the ground. And this is a fantastic example as well that we just saw on the screen. It is to knock that soldier off the trajectory so where they land is not in a position where they can actually touch your medic, as we just saw. So that hit scan damage dealing knockback is what denies bombs. And that's just more effective when you're on high ground. On top of the fact that, you'll see Scouts will jump off of the high ground and then jump back onto the high ground. Basically, like, make it so they're not very splashable so that they can't be a primary bomb target. Because again, Scouts are low HP generally. And as a Pocket Scout, sure, you'd like to be buffed, and you are buffed pretty often. But, I mean, you'll see invite soldiers in the frag videos will just direct a scout, and, you know, they bomb directly into a scout, which should be a bad plan, but then they just hit 2 directs and end up killing them instead. So, yeah, there's some element of that. But high ground's very important for being able to effectively deny those soldier bombs, on top of the myriad other reasons why high ground is so useful, such as being able to, you know, be much less vulnerable to spam, as well as, you know, better vision and whatnot. And you'll see this on most maps. And most of this stuff applies particularly well to mid-fights, because with mid-fights specifically, you have plenty of time to establish strong positioning in anticipation of bombs. Oh, okay, I get to hit myself with the basher again, so the defeat effect goes away, hopefully. So yeah, that is a consideration, that mid-fights are like a kind of crystalline, pure form of the concepts I'm talking about. And you'll see this reflected in most mids, that you have these... Isn't my NG gorgeous? Anyway, you have kind of this passive high ground that's very safe positioning and very easy to spot and deny bombs from. So in the case of Process, we saw it was the Rock by Choke. I mean, you can think on Metalworks, it's on top of the forwards. You know, Sunshine, it could be either Shed or Tetris. I mean, just so many different examples. Snakewater has the Shed as well. So in all of these mids, you see these pretty safe high ground positionings that Pocket Scouts like to gravitate towards, and it's for all the reasons I just described. However, there is a bit of disconnect sometimes, because TF2 is all about space and taking space and potentially conceding space if you have a disadvantage, so as not to get a greater disadvantage of like losing more players or getting forced or something like that. It is all about space at the end of the day. And it's generally good when you have space, or excuse me, it's generally good to take space when you can. You know, you don't see teams just walk through a choke point into the next point when it's even Ubers, even players, because that's something that's held by a demo typically, and you're likely to lose players doing so. But it's only for those reasons, meaning if their demo is not good about holding the choke, or if for whatever reason it's actually free to take space, then by all means the correct play is to take space, and at least like stage some type of fight. You can turn it into a sat. Like obviously you can play it fluidly based on the situation, as you would with really any situation. But my point being that taking space is quite nice, and establishing strong positioning is quite nice. And oftentimes this means, as a Pocket Scout, just sitting back on that safe positioning where, yes, you can potentially spot that soldier bomb or do whatever. Like, yeah, that's nice. But sometimes it's just too passive, and you actually need to be taking and establishing space. And in these cases, it's oftentimes better to get on more aggressive positioning and more aggressive high ground. So if we think in the case of like Metalworks, getting on top of the point, if we think in the case of Snakewater, it can be getting on top of the roof of the point. And when it comes to properly denying the bombs, in many respects, this doesn't actually make you less equipped to deal with those soldiers, but in fact more equipped, because now you are in a more aggressive, stronger high ground positioning, meaning you're able to kind of root out that bomb closer to the stem and where they're actually bombing from. And this is kind of indicative of another concept I want to talk about, which is that sometimes the best way to stop a bomb is to prevent the bomb from even happening, or at the very least, target the source. Because if there is, for example, some random soldier on the floor, then there are going to be cases where it is worth giving up high ground, giving up that positioning that is well equipped to stop that bomb, if you can hit that soldier for like 120 damage and suddenly they're just not healthy enough to bomb at all. Now, of course, huge caveats, because you don't want to be chasing some random guy and then the other soldier that you weren't paying attention to now gets a free bomb on your medic. But as a Pocket Scout, finding those windows to get really aggressive can really benefit you as a means to preemptively stop the bomb rather than reactively stop the bomb. And that kind of proactive pressure and gameplay is absolutely what puts soldiers on their toes and makes their bombs far less effective. And as a result, without even necessarily having to deny their bombs to begin with, you are properly doing your job of protecting your medic from soldier bombs. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into consideration when it comes to playing as a scout, and in particular with regards to countering soldiers. But I've outlined some of the big ones here of, obviously you want to identify where the soldiers are at and make sure that you're playing a positioning and playing a timing as well, because timing is a really important factor for when their bombs are. Because of course you want to be in that position for when you expect the bomb to come out. And if the bomb is not coming out, then you don't really need to be sitting back babysitting. You could be like applying pressure to a demo or shooting scouts or something, because, as a scout, you don't only want to be shooting soldiers. Shooting scouts are also very valuable targets. So yeah, actually identifying the potential bombs and identifying the potential, that's what I'm looking for. Identifying where the bombs can come from and when, those timings and those positions are all very important. And then playing the high ground, of course, we outlined, as well as finding those avenues through which you can apply pressure before the bombs even happen to, in some cases, prevent the bombs from ever happening. So yeah, as you can tell, there's a lot of depth that goes into, playing Pocket Scout and playing to deny soldier bombs specifically. And that's where the soldier counterplay comes in of, picking those timings well and, finding the routes that you can actually get a proper bomb off without necessarily just getting shut down by a scout. And yeah, it just adds to the depth and fun of TF2 at large, even though scout can be a very broken class at times. But anyway, hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and if not, hopefully it was at least entertaining, and I will see you guys next time.